Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whenever you are. Hello. Thank you for watching my videos. It's Mike. It's September 12th, 2010. Here's a few of the stories that caught my eye over the weekend. Now the first one was this article in The Telegraph, which was published on Friday, but regardless. The OECD says UK will be fastest growing G7 country in Q3. Yeah. We don't know what Q4 is going to be like. Now they're saying that UK is going to be faster than Canada, for instance, and many others. The OECD upgraded its UK forecast to 0.7% growth in the third quarter. I think Canada is probably somewhere around about the same place. Basically, they're all around the same place, but whatever. Compared to China, I mean, who cares? Anyway, now what else is going on? I found an article in Vanity Fair. Beware of Greeks bearing bonds. Now this is an excellent article by Michael Lewis, which basically goes in details why you should not believe any of the nonsense about the austerity measures in Greece actually working. The entire Greek culture and Greek personality is detailed quite well in this article. It's a long read, but basically a large part of the Greek economy goes unreported. There is a long history of tax evasion and bribing of tax officers and so forth, and it's quite common for really weird things to happen in Greece, and the money just slips under the table. Quite common for restaurants, for instance, to not issue receipts. So yeah, interesting article. In combination with some of the other articles I've linked, you'll begin to see why. From the Financial Times, Wolfgang Monchow, he's gone and said, do not fall for talk of European solvency. Basically detailing the fact that the spreads between 10-year bonds, between Greek 10-year bonds and German 10-year bonds, is somewhere around about 9.4%. Now Germany, they're currently charging 2.3% yield, or issuing yield at 2.3%. So 9.4% on top of that is what Greek bonds, they're going to have basically paying for Greek bonds, which is nuts. This is insane. This is unsustainable. So never mind the fact that the European Union has said, oh yes, we're going to back up these edge, fringe European countries like Greek, Spain, Portugal, Ireland, etc. Not having the effect that people really thought it would back in May. And the spreads have gone back up. I mean, the Irish spread's back up as well. Ireland's at 3.4% above above Germany, 3.4% also for Portugal, and 1.7% for Spain. They seem to have thought perhaps Spain's settling down. Nuts. So, in a move announced today, Greece moves to reassure investors on reform. This is also from the Financial Times. You'll find all the articles linked below. I've used tiny URLs this time around because it's that was kind of funky, so we'll do that. Anyway, the Finance Minister of Greece will be leading a delegation including the European Union, European Central Bank, and International Monetary Fund officials to meet investors in London, Paris, and Frankfurt. Basically saying, we're trying, we're really trying, but if they've read the Vanity Fair article, they're going to say, yeah, you're not trying hard enough. Now, the International Monetary Fund has said, default in today's advanced economies, unnecessary, undesirable, and unlikely. I've linked the full report below, but in a nutshell, basically the International Monetary Funds, some of the members of the Monetary Fund have come out with an article basically saying that, or a study, a research paper saying that it seems highly unlikely that an advanced economy would default. What about Argentina? That's fine. Anyway, now this weekend, over in Basel, in Switzerland, at the offices of the Bank of International Settlement, the BIS, new Basel rules split Germany's bankers. Now, it was announced today, but they've been commenting on it in the financial newspapers for the last few days, that this Basel III, as they're calling it now, will have a dramatic effect on banks starting next week. Now, officially, it doesn't come into force until January 1st, 2011. Actually, no, until 2013. 2011, January 1st, they start monitoring to try to figure out which banks need their capital boosting. And January 1st, 2013, the banks will be mandated to have at least 4.5% Tier 1 capital and that rises to 7% over a number of years. Now, this is beginning to freak banks out. Deutsche Bank has gone and said, well, we're going to have to raise 9.8 billion euros or some nonsense number like that. Anyway, so I've linked below. I've also linked below the the article about what the Basel II agreement finally has been announced as. So this should send some funny things happening in bank stocks around the world. Well, in the countries that actually agree to the Bank of International Settlement, pretty much around the world. Stephen Foley, Congress must realize America is on the verge of a fresh economic crisis. This is from The Independent yesterday. Of course, President Obama has been making speeches and saying we're going to give all this money away. We're going to, create a 200 billion tax write-off for businesses, $100 billion giveaway to spur research and development, 50 billion on new transport information infrastructure projects, etc., etc. The Democrats are about to get kicked out of Congress. There's no way all of this stuff will be passed through Congress before the November elections. How likely is any of this to actually happen? Zero. And yeah, there's going to be some fun when that doesn't go through. Unless, of course, they actually have some kind of weird emergency situation where, oh my gosh, the markets are going completely mental, we need to do something to prop them up and support our people, and blah, blah, blah. State capitalism gone insane. However, in Japan, they have approved a stimulus package over there. They're going to spend 11 billion US dollars, tackle deflation and shore up a recovery threatened by the surging yen. I told you to watch Japan. It's going to get even weirder in the next few weeks. That'll be fun. Now, what's going on? I mean, everyone's coming out and saying, listen, there's no chance of a double-dip recession. Chinese finance minister said that last week. There's no chance of a double-dip recession. Everything's funky. Everything's great. We're getting back on track. Lies. All lies, I tell you. One key indicator, and there's lots of them, but I'll start with this one because this is the big one. U.S. auto sales slump. This is from September 1st, 2010, from the Globe and Mail. U.S. auto sales, once a bright spot in the economic recovery, grew fainter last month. The pain was widespread. Big car companies, GM, Ford, and Toyota, all saw sales slip. Smaller automakers like Subaru suffered too, as did companies that appeal to the budget-minded, such as Kia and Hyundai. Buyers are nervous about the economy's health and stayed away from showrooms, a worrisome sign, since August is typically a very strong month because they're kind of come out with new models. So the fact that the auto companies are discounting cars an insane amount of money. I mean, you can get like $8,000 off on a Ford nowadays and all this kind of stuff. It's not working. People aren't buying. They're not buying the stuff. Even when the countries that still have a car for clunkers program like Canada, sales are still declining. They are at their lowest level in over 20 years. So, yes, the number works out to roughly somewhere around about, I can't remember now. Yeah, so sales are down like 17% from last year. So GM sales fell 7% from July, even sharper 25% from sales of August last year. Ford also saw a 5% dip from July, while Toyota fell 12%. August to August comparisons looked even worse for the industry, although that was expected because a third of the cars sold back then were driven by government discounts of up to $4,500 per vehicle. Yeah, however, the monthly sales number is the worst in over 25 years. Hello, people. People aren't buying cars. Now, there's a really good reason why they're not buying cars, because they're unemployed. Hello? They ain't got money. Or if they're employed, they're thinking, how much longer am I going to be in this job? Do I really need to buy a new car? Nope, I think I'll buy a used car and put some money away just in case things go terribly wrong, or perhaps I'll pay off my credit cards. That would be a really good idea this time. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Well, of course, they never do, but regardless. So they don't buy cars. And they're still buying houses too, but regardless. Now, is it going to get any better? Nouriel Rubini and Ian Bremner have an article in Institutional Investor, which I've linked below. Paradise Lost. Why fallen markets will never be the same. And essentially basically saying that state capitalism is destroying American markets. They will never be the same. They will never recover, or if they do recover, it will be a long, long time. Don't believe the lies people are pumping out there. Indeed, even the Bank of Canada chairman, Paul Carney, what is his first name? I just know him as Mr. Carney. Mark Carney, my mistake. Mark Carney and Paul Volcker came out this week in Calgary on Friday, basically saying that they see a long haul to recovery. The world economy, quote, faces a long, hard slog towards recovery and could slide into deflation and financial instability if leaders fail to deliver on promises of reform, top policymakers said on Friday. They know. They don't want you to know, but they know. They know it's not going to get any better anytime soon. Now, a couple of other articles. This one here from the Telegraph in the UK. Unions warn of coordinated strikes against cuts. Now, of course, in the UK, they came up with a huge package of cuts to cut spending so that the deficit was decreased, etc. Never mind the fact that these people that are being cut won't be paying taxes, and so therefore their tax money won't be going towards reducing the deficit. They'll just go on to increasing the deficit because they'll be unemployed, but whatever. Unions are threatening huge strikes, coordinated strikes, across the UK in the coming months. There's a big meeting tomorrow in Manchester, which is the Trade Union Conference, Congress, and yeah, it's going to be fun in the UK over the next few months. Getting around, traveling, all that kind of good stuff. More bad news for RIM. This is the tip of the week. I don't know what's going to happen to RIM stock. I don't know what this does. This may just be stories in the wind. JPMorgan may soon let employees use iPhones for corporate email. JPMorgan, of course, currently uses Blackberries because Blackberries are very secure email devices. Hence the fact they're getting shut off in India and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's not going to be good. Okay, peace, love, understanding. Think about things. I'll speak to you again soon.